Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with RE/MAX, the Golfi Team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show, Hamilton edition with host Rick Zamprin.
Good morning. Happy to be here. Hope you are as well, as we have a jam-packed, action-packed show for you today once again on the Golfi Real Estate Show, Hamilton edition on 900 CHML. Rick Zamprin here. Rob Golfi there. Rob is a sales representative with RE/MAX Escarpment Realty, the Golfi Team. And you can find the Golfi Team online at robgolfi.com. That's Rob, Golfi.com. Call the #1 RE/MAX team in Canada. That just happens to be the Golfi Team. 905-575-7700. That's 905-575-7700. And they're all over social media, whether it is TikTok or Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the whole kit and caboodle. They have awesome videos and even more awesomer videos to come. We'll talk about that later on in the show, as Rob has a big trip planned over the next couple of weeks, and he'll be squarely featured on his social media feed. Some of the things we're going to get into today is, imagine being the mayor of a community and not being able to afford a home in that community. It's actually happening, and not too far from us here in Hamilton. We'll talk also about whether or not Canadians should be offering up their spare rooms to people who need a place to stay. Now, the encampment issue in Hamilton is huge. It's a big issue in other cities as well. Should we be opening up our homes to strangers at the end of the day to make sure that they're not homeless any longer? We'll also get into a new study about properties that are listed. Those listings expire because no one has purchased that property. But we'll begin with what is going down in the world of Rob Golfi this week.
Well, things are moving along pretty good for the summer market. What's been going on in the past 5 years, and we had ups and downs and stuff like that. But one thing I wanted to talk about, there's some big homes that sold in the Hamilton surrounding areas in Hamilton, and then I just was shocked that one just recently sold for $5 million in Ancaster, and it sold for $5.35 million, and we had another one in Flamborough. It's an equestrian center. $6.5 million. Can you believe that? There's people out there with money still.
Wow.
And then the third one, the other one, it was in Waterdown, $6.3 million. Now, I know in Flamborough there is a lot of big hitters out there that like to buy these horse farms because that's where the Flamborough race track is, and that's where they train. They want to keep their horses. They don't have to go too far when they're bringing them to the track. But yeah, there's a lot of action happening. I just went over $5 million, but high-end homes are selling to a certain degree, and I think right now the amount of homes over $5 million for sale there are 7 homes that are over $5 million for sale right now in the Hamilton and surrounding area. So hey, that's a big mortgage if you have to put a mortgage on those things, boy. I'll tell you that.
The two most expensive, there is, I guess it's just a strip of land in Dundas. Or no, I guess there is a home on here too. It says residential. $25 million in Waterdown on Dundas Street East. And the other one is on Fiddler's Green for $29 million. That is a big chunk of change.
Oh, absolutely. Now, that one there for $29 million is a beautiful house. I looked at it, but I think they're way out of line on their price, and they're just, if somebody's willing to pay for it, hey, all the power to them. They live there, and that's all tax-free money. But and I'm wondering if you look at that, it's on the $29 million one. Let's see here. So there's one for sale for $25 million. The $29 million. I want to see what he paid for this property. I'm not sure if he built it. He must have built it.
Well, while you look for that, I'll just give a brief description of this $29 million property. It's on Fiddler's Green. It has 6 bedrooms, 13 bathrooms. So I'm guessing each one of the bedrooms has an ensuite. Plus, there are 7 more bathrooms throughout the property. And it's 9,946 square feet. So this is a massive home.
Oh, unbelievable, eh? Like, that's like a hotel. It's incredible. So, I mean, but there are people that can afford that. But sometimes if somebody's willing to pay $30 million. They'll probably rather go to Oakville or Burlington to spend that kind of money sometimes. It just depends on, who they are. And, if they were born and raised in Hamilton and their roots are here, they will have a tendency of spending that money here in Ancaster for that kind of dollars. Like the Michael Lee Chins and the Ron Joyces, they ended up in Burlington after, but they, were from the Hamilton area. And I think Michael's Lee Chin's ex-wife or whatever, lives in Ancaster. So their roots are here. So that and they're willing to put that money into a house. She's got a beautiful house here in Ancaster, unbelievable. I've seen it, and so you'll get those people that were born and raised will spend that money here. People coming from outside, they'll go to Oakville or Burlington first.
How would you even market a home like that? I know people can go online to golfiluxury.com, and some of these properties will be listed on there. But how would you market those $5 million plus homes in a market like this?
It's very expensive. I'll tell you that. It's very expensive to market a home like that. You can spend up to probably $50,000 or more just in marketing, just that one house alone. The one thing is you would go in all the business newspapers and magazines and start marketing it and placing it in areas where people can afford that kind of house, and hopefully somebody jumps on it and buys it. Sometimes it's somebody out of the country, or it can be somebody in Toronto or Vancouver. You just got to keep it. You got to get it exposed and get people looking at it. It takes time. Sometimes somebody's just sitting there looking online, and you spend a lot of money online. So if somebody's scrolling through, use keywords, luxury homes, expensive homes, all those things. So when somebody's scrolling along online, looking at different things, all of a sudden this house will pop up. And they look at it, and hopefully you get a phone call. And we do a lot of our marketing that way. I remember one that I recall really vividly is that we had a house in Stony Creek that was on the water, and a lady saw it show up on her Facebook feed, and she's like, wow, this is a beautiful house. She calls us. She didn't even know where Stony Creek was. And she goes, I don't even know where, she was from Mississauga. She didn't know where Stony Creek was. We said, hey, come on down, take a look at this. And she came in and she fell in love with this place, and she bought it. And she wasn't even thinking of moving. So that's the kind of marketing you have to do with this kind of house. Now, these houses, I'll tell you, if they're updated and everything, and you're buying it, that's fantastic. But once you hit 15 years old in these houses, or 10 years plus, you're going to have to update them. And these houses that, like 9,000 square feet, it's not a cheap thing to update. Like you're talking about maybe a couple $1 million just to update a house. So you got to be careful. If you're buying it, maybe just live in it for 5-10 years and get out, let the next guy do the updates. But if they're up new houses, they will sell fast to a certain degree, but you just got to find that buyer. And buyers in that upper echelon, in that price point, there are very little of them around. So I would send a postcard to every house in Oakville. Say, hey, well, maybe you want to try coming this way. You could sell your $50 million house and go down to $30 million, and you get a bigger house.
That's a great plan.
Yeah.
There is a really wild story that has erupted in East Hamilton, and long story short, this house, which is near Parkdale Avenue North and Britannia Avenue. It was up for sale, and an elderly couple, or at least a couple in their 60s, purchased this home, or at least agreed to purchase this home. But when they have tried to move in the house, they can't, because the home was also being rented out to another couple. And so this couple that is currently living in the home, renting the home, is not moving out because they say they can't find something in this market that they can afford. All the while, the couple that has bought the home has now moved into basically the driveway of this home. They have a trailer there. They're parked in the driveway. They're not moving. Basically, they're saying, the couple that is renting is not moving out, so we're moving in. It's a real stalemate, and probably one of dozens, if not hundreds, of stories that have played out. And here's, there's so many tidbits of info to the story. The renters have not paid their rent for several months, and they're, supposed to leave. This closing date has been extended a couple of times. The home seller is now worried that this is all going to fall through because the two home buyers who are now living in the driveway and they've already sold their condo have nowhere else to go either. This is a crazy story.
It is, and especially knowing these people haven't paid their rent for 7 months. First of all, the landlord should have given them notice in the first 5 days that saying, hey, you don't pay your rent that month, start an eviction notice. Now, right. This guy probably figured, okay, these people aren't paying their rent. I'm out. I'm done with this landlord stuff. I'm out. I'm going to sell it. So he sells it, gives them an N12 notice to say vacate because we sold, and they're not leaving because they can't find a place. These tenants, I'm going to tell you something. Tenants have to understand, if you're renting, pay the rent. Pay it. This guy's only paying $1,300 a month. That is cheap. Now, you're not paying the rent. Now you're going to get kicked out. You're going to get kicked out eventually. It's going to happen. And the longer it takes for you to get out, the more the money you're going to end up paying in the long run, because the sheriff is going to come in one day and lock you out. And I've had that done to people that didn't pay their rent with me. Now, when I had that, the turnaround time was a lot quicker. I think in less than a couple of months, we had a sheriff there. But now, 7 months, a year almost, you have to wait till that. The government's got to do something about this, and they got to change it, and they got to change it fast, because people are going to get hurt. People are going to lose their tempers, and there's going to be things happening that's uncontrollable. Look what happened to the landlord went and shot 2 people in Stony Creek. Yep. Those things can happen.
Absolutely. By the way, the landlord and tenant board has a wait list or wait time of about 5 to 8 months. So this could remain in the news for a while longer. There's a very interesting one. It's a study that shows that most properties, not some, not all, but most, have a set offer date, but they fail to sell within that time frame. And according to the figures that have been compiled, is that in July, new real estate searches were conducted, and 7%, somewhere around 7% in the largest real estate board in the country, being Toronto, hit that target date without selling. Are we seeing listings expire here, there, and everywhere?
So usually when people are holding offers, and it's a slippery slope to go down when you're doing that, especially in the market that we're in right now. But when in Toronto, apparently some agents are holding offers and they're not even getting any offers at all. So one, they're not pricing it right to get offers. 2, people don't want to compete anymore. People went through that. People got messed up over that with overpaying on houses. So they're not doing that. The consumer is smarter than the agent and the seller. They are the ones holding the money. And they're the ones that are saying, listen, this house is worth X amount of dollars. That's all we're willing to pay. So agents are doing that. And I noticed a lot of listings canceled, and it shows 10 days on the market, 8 days on the market, and then getting relisted. So they did try the hold offer situation, and it didn't work out. Now they went to plan B. Let's just go market value and see what happens. You're not going to get more than market value. So let's say the house is worth, let's say $800,000. The value of this house is $800,000. Now, people list it at $700,000 or $750,000, thinking they're going to get $850,000, $900,000. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. They'll get $800,000 for it, or $805,000 or $810,000 the most. They're not going over. I looked at them. I looked at everything that sold, that was sold for full price or more, and a lot of them that were priced right were getting maybe $5,000 to $10,000, $5,000 over, or asking price. That's it. They're not going to get $50,000 to $100,000. So you got to be very careful. You could hurt that listing if you do that. I know in Hamilton and surrounding areas. Now, the numbers are pretty crazy. In Hamilton, in July, 498 homes sold, and 190 of those 498 homes sold for full price or more. So that's 38%. Of the homes that sold full price or more. So either they priced it right, or some of them were holding offers. In Hamilton, that it's worked because of the price point that we're in. Now, in Burlington, 203 homes sold in July. 84 out of those 203 homes that sold were full price or more. So that's 23%. Here's another crazy thing. I couldn't believe it. In Niagara, There was 563 homes that sold in all of the Niagara Peninsula. 146 of them were full price or more. 23, that's 23%. Now, Niagara's price point is way lower than Hamilton and Burlington and Toronto, but the price point's low. Market's a little soft in Niagara right now. It's surprisingly soft. Not sure. I think they hit a ceiling, and it's got to still adjust itself. But yeah, like it's like you look at Hamilton, it's still going strong. You know what it is? We're close to the GTA. We're within driving distance, and people can handle that drive if they can handle the traffic. But going to Niagara to Toronto is a little bit of a tough drive. But yeah, it's I don't do hold offers unless my clients want to. I price it exactly. And just for instance, I just listed a property on the Stony Creek Mountain on Marston Street, $750,000. Guys, when you hear this today, you can give me a call anytime. 4 bedrooms, 1,250 square feet, beautiful house, in-ground pool, nice lot. It'll go fast. Now, I priced it exactly what the market value is. I put down 48 hours irrevocable. Irrevocable means, hey, if you're going to send me an offer, give me 48 hours to deal with it. So during that 48 hours, sometimes we get another offer, right? But I'm not holding offers, but sometimes we do. And if we have a bunch of showings, I'm going to say, hey, we're going to deal with the offers after those showings. So I got a good feeling that we're going to get full price or more on this without holding offers. I'm not, deterring people from, oh, they're holding offers. I don't even want to see it, because that's what happens now. If you're holding offers, there's a percentage of the population or the buyers are not going to look at your house. So anyway, yeah, we've if you price it right, you'll do well. If you underprice it, you're going to scare off the right buyer, and the wrong buyer is going to buy it and not give you the money that you think you're going to get.
Very interesting stuff. If you are looking for selling your house, or if you're in the market to buy a house, you got to call the #1 RE/MAX team in Canada. That's the Golfi Team, 905-575-7700. Online at robgolfi.com. That's Rob, GOLFI.com. Here is a scenario that I didn't really think about in terms of interest rates, higher housing costs, higher rental rates, and that is when couples are going through a divorce. There's now a new hurdle for them to clear. That is, they're separating everything, their finances, perhaps 1 or 2 or more children are involved. This is a highly stressful time. But now these individuals who may have a house and may be able to sell it and split the cost now have to look for other housing, which is not easy because of A, the cost of housing, and B, the interest/mortgage rates. This could be a big problem for these couples who may come to the realization that they have to stay in the house, even though they don't want to be with each other because they can't afford to go elsewhere.
There is a lot of people that are separated or maybe even divorced are still living in the same house. That is happening as we speak, and those are big numbers. More surprised, people would be surprised how many are doing that. But the one thing is, when you go through a divorce, you're basically splitting your assets, and there's always one spouse that makes more money than the other. Now, what the judges do, they say you get to divide the income. So let's say one spouse makes more than the other, then the difference, they split it, and that's so they're both equal. Sometimes that is not enough to buy each of them another house to go into another house. And that's when they start going to rent. Rent is very expensive now, and that's why they can't even rent or buy. And that's how they end up staying, saying, hey, listen, we can't do this. I'll live downstairs, you live upstairs, and you just, and we just stay out of each other's way and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it is tough, and it is tough. And a mortgage company will not give a spouse that's separating a mortgage unless they have a separation agreement. Now, that separation agreement basically says to the one spouse how much money they're getting or how much money they have to pay to the other spouse in we're finding out, like, hey, can you afford this house that we're about to give you the money? Because if you have to pay a lot of money out to somebody else, you cannot afford to buy this house. which happens a lot. A lot of times we get divorced couples that come to us, say, hey, yeah, I'm looking at buying this. I want to buy a house, no problem, this and that. And I say, listen, you should get pre-approved. And the first thing I ask them, do you have a separation agreement? They say, oh, no, what's that? And I go, well, believe me, you're not going to get the mortgage unless you have that, unless your spouse is going to sign and co-sign with you. But that is the big thing that's happening right now, especially with the times that we're in with the high cost of housing, high interest rates. And it's just, it's tough. It's tough. So you may have to stay with your spouse, whether you like it or not, and just live through it. That's all there's to it.
Is another option, and I'm not sure, what the divorce rate is like now compared to even a few years ago, whether it's higher or the same or even a bit lower. But does this impact the short-term rental market at all?
The short-term rental, it does, because people are looking for 6 months and nobody wants to give a 6-month rental. I've had people come to me. We're talking short-term rental versus Airbnb. Well, the short-term rental's too expensive. Airbnb, that's short-term rental. Airbnb, that's too expensive. Now, the long-term rental is expensive, but sometimes people aren't ready to commit yet because they're not sure where they're going in their life. And that becomes tough. And so a lot of people are always looking for something even shorter. Just say, hey, listen, I just need a place to go, maybe 6 months or whatever, because they're still trying to figure out their life. And they're not ready to commit to a year sometimes. So it's a tough situation. When you're divorcing, you are in a bad situation. The options are not very good for you out there.
Not at all. There is, slim pickings in terms of short-term, long-term rentals and the housing market itself. Back a few months ago, there was a suggestion at Hamilton City Hall to look at potentially having people in town who have homes and have a space in their home, i.e. a bedroom or maybe, a space in the basement where they can say, listen, if you need a place to stay, this individual or these families can open up their homes and maybe you can use it as a short-term kind of stopgap between housing. Well, Nova Scotia is diving into this with their municipal housing minister announcing last week that they have extended a contract with a national online home sharing platform. It's called HappyPad, HAPPI Pad. And basically they offer month-to-month accommodation, and they pair people who have spaces in their homes with people who need a place to stay. Think of students or healthcare workers, skilled tradespeople who need a place. And I know at City Hall it was kind of suggested and then quickly shot down because, who's going to open up their home to a stranger? I know there's background checks that are done, but what are your thoughts on this whole thing, this home sharing kind of idea?
It's happening, and they need to do it because we got to stop this homelessness that's happening out there. A lot of people can't afford to even rent a house. They may have to rent a room. But here's the other problem. I just went on Kijiji, and you can check yourself on Kijiji just to see room for rent. In the Hamilton area, they got room for rent $500 to $800. Ancaster $1,275 a month just for a bedroom to rent. That's not even cheap anymore. Things are getting expensive, but I think they need to do it. It's when the heavy immigration was happening in the 50s and the 60s, a lot of people, especially immigrants that actually ended up buying a house in Ontario, Canada, where they're bringing their friends or family from the same town in their country that they came from, they rented a room to them. Now, this is starting all over again, and they need to do that. And I know a lot of people that are immigrating now, they're renting rooms in friends and family that they know of from the same country that they came from. I think they need to do it, but the thing is that's getting expensive, and it's going to be I don't know. The only thing we need is housing. That's the only thing I could say is we need more housing. And the government's trying to solve this problem, and the only way they can do it is opening up laneway homes and basement apartments, and now they're saying, hey, we need to go one step further and rent your room out because we need homes for these people, and there's not enough out there right now.
Well, help could be on the way for some who own a home right now or are thinking about owning a home, and it has nothing to do with any sort of government. It has all to do with your parents. And if your parents are baby boomers, they are in the process of handing over more than $53 trillion to their sons and daughters, children, grandchildren, in what is going to be the greatest transfer of generational wealth in our planet's history. And so I'm assuming that a lot of people are banking on that, pardon the pun, to cure their ails when it comes to affording a home. How do you see this playing out? We got a couple of minutes to kind of dive into this, and then we'll continue it on after the break.
I think it's going to keep the economy booming like crazy, because this is money that's being transferred. And a lot of these kids that are going to get this money, they're going to be spending it. So the consumer, I'll tell you, the economy is going to be strong for a long time. And whether we like it or not, and they're trying to control inflation, but it is happening. There is going to be a lot of money spent. People are going to buy their toys. They're going to buy upgrades, their houses, construction, everything. That's what's going to happen. You're going to see people driving nicer cars, have nicer homes, and boats and everything else that comes with all that money that they're going to get inherited from.
We're talking about the massive transfer of wealth from baby boomers to their children and grandchildren, more than $53 trillion over the next number of years. This is going to be the greatest transfer of generational wealth ever, and maybe ever, period, even going forward. But here's one of the things I thought about. When it comes to paying taxes or land transfer tax or any kind of money owed to the government, I know that this 20 or 53 trillion is not all cash. There's assets there as well. How much do you think the tax man is going to be grabbing from that 53 trillion? My guess is a lot.
Oh, for sure. The tax man, they can't wait, I guess. No, it will be a lot unless you have something in place. And right now I'm working on mine where I actually have two wills. One is a personal and one is for business. And also I have a policy, a life insurance policy to help pay for the tax if I pass away, just so that the business can still run, things can get done, and without anybody having to change anything. Now, the average person out there, they should have a will. I just received a call from some kind of estate person that somebody passed away, and my name was mentioned in there. It was a past client, and they said, "Hey, do you know this person?" And I go, "Yeah, he was a client of mine many, many years ago." "Well, do you know any living relatives?" And I go, "No, but if you want me to be one, I'll be one." I go, but anyway, but he passed away with no will, no family, nothing. So the government, they're trying to track it. They're doing it. They're making an effort to track whoever is the closest next of kin to this person. And they asked me if I knew anybody. I said I don't. Good luck. And that was it. And so that money will end up going to the government, probably 100%. But there's a lot of people out there die without wills. I'm going to tell you, get a will done. Just write something down or do something. But because your family, you're going to put them in a situation that all that hard work all your life that you're doing is just going to go nowhere. You want to pass it down and let the next generation, at least get a step ahead instead of behind, especially the way housing prices are now.
Well, that brings us to our next topic, and that is a mayor in Waterloo Region. She's the mayor of Wilmot Township. She's 28 years old and admits that she cannot afford a home in her area where she is the mayor because she can't afford it. She looked at one recent listing that was just shy of $800,000, about a 1,000 square foot home. And even with a salary of $90,000 a year, she works as mayor, a regional councilor with the local electric utility. She can't afford it. She can't afford to get into a home in her area. This is quite sad, but also not surprising. A lot of people with student loans like this mayor can't get in. It's too costly.
And it's funny, though. See how a public figure like this is, facing the fact that, listen, I make great money, but I can't even afford to buy a house. And there's so many people like that out there. And it's actually good that she, is exposing it to everybody, saying, look, I have a great job. I got student loans, and I still can't afford to buy a house. And it may be 5-10 years because I got to pay my student loans off. And, I thought it was a sad but good story. You know what I mean? That what's happening in this country of ours, or province anyway, that she needs to, still live with her parents, right? So it's tough. It's tough. That shows you she needs to have a partner that makes the same amount of money so that she can get out of her parents' basement.
Yeah, they can pool their resources.
Yeah.
And then pay off that debt. And who knows, maybe that transfer of wealth she will realize someday soon, and it'll help pay for a home.
Exactly. She may have to wait another 20 years, though, or 30. Who knows?
Yeah, she's not even 30 yet. That is true.
Yeah.
When we come back on the Golfi Real Estate Show, we're going to dive into the real estate market watch that is just going to be hitting your mailboxes sometime soon. And Rob's great adventure to the home country. He's off to Italy, and we'll get a good taste of Mr. Golfi in the country that looks like big boots. Stay tuned for that. This is the Golfi Real Estate Show, Hamilton edition on 900 CHML. Yeah, who knows? All right, here we go. Last go round here on the Golfi Real Estate Show, Hamilton edition on 900 CHML. Rick Zamprin with Rob Golfi, sales representative with RE/MAX Escarpment Realty, the Golfi team. You can follow the Golfi team on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and we'll share with you in just a couple of minutes why you should definitely be doing so over the next couple of weeks. Call the number one RE/MAX team in Canada, the Golfi team, 905-575-7700, 905-575-7700. And check out the Golfi team website, robgolfi.com. That's Rob, Golfi.com. The hottest listings in town are on robgolfi.com. All right, so the latest real estate market watch is going to be hitting our mailboxes sometime soon, if not already. What's in store for this latest edition?
Yeah, so we got the stats out, and it's moderate. You're going to start seeing that we're catching up to last year's, progressing against last year's numbers, because last year, we had the peak in the first quarter, then things started sliding down. So you're going to start seeing a lot more green arrows going up versus red arrows going down in price and also in unit numbers. But in there, I've got a thing that you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I'll be mentioning, all the fun things and about Italy in my perspective. So, just follow us. Look us up on TikTok or Instagram. We're waiting to get our Facebook page back. We got hacked, and people that have been hacked with Facebook or any other problem, you know what I'm talking about. We're waiting to get that back. But otherwise, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow me. My perspective of what Italy's like and how I feel about it and things like that. And I'm going to visit some real estate offices and check out, maybe see if there's a couple of open houses and stuff like that. The food, of course. My daughter's getting married there, so that's going to be exciting and everything. So I'll have some moments there with that. And we're going to be starting off the trip in the Amalfi Coast in Ravello, and then we're there for about, I think, a little over 5 days, and then heading to Rome for 3 days. Checking out some of the nice sites there. And then from there, we're going to go to Florence and Tuscany. That's around that area. And then after, we're going to a place near, it's called Bergomia or something like that, near Milan. Yep. And so I'm looking forward to that. Nice little, small little village area. Excited. And I've got tickets to go to the F1, the Monza Grand Prix race in Monza. So looking forward to that. So that'll be exciting, and you get to follow and see what my perspective of Italy and how I see it in my eyes, and you'll get a good idea of a little bit about Italy. I'm sure you can get enough of it online, but this is my perspective of it.
And I know you've been there before, to Italy before. What are you most looking forward to at least rekindling or retasting or doing something all over again because it was so enjoyable the first time?
You know what? The one thing I'm really looking forward to there's a thing that they have. It's called the Path of Gods, and this one that I'm going to go on is it's a path that, or a hike that you go through all these little villages, and this is what people did way back in like 100, 200 years ago, when they're going trading and going to visit people at different villages. Well, we do it for exercise now, and we do it for tourism, but people back then, that's their way of life. And so I definitely want to do this. You get to see the sights along the mountainside and everything in the Amalfi Coast. So that's one of the things I really, really looking forward to it. I love Florence is one thing that I love Florence. I've been there, and I wasn't there long enough to really experience Florence last time, but this time I looking forward to it. I love the buildings. I'm totally amazed at how they built these buildings back 500, 600 years ago. I just don't get it. Like how they did it. And like, I mean, we're talking big stone. Like there's no bulldozers, there's no cranes, there's nothing like that back then. How did they get these buildings made, 2-story, 5-story buildings back then, let alone now? But it's crazy. Looking forward to it. And just follow me and if you like it, perfect. Like it and share it. How many
eye rolls from the kids are you going to get during this trip when you have to stop down to do a video?
Oh my God, I know. They're going to say they're not going to want to be around me. I gotcha. I'm going to probably do a lot of this stuff on my own because the kids are not going to want to stick around waiting for me to get little clips here and there done. You're absolutely right. How many eye rolls? Oh, for sure. And I'll be self-conscious of doing it in front of them. So I'm going to try not to have them around me when I'm doing it.
That's a good call. You can listen to our show online through Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, Stitcher, and many more. Just search for the Golfi Real Estate Show in your favorite podcast platform. Hit the follow button so you never miss an episode. And thanks for listening to the Golfi Real Estate Show Hamilton edition.